This is not the typical story that involves bears, a Disney princess, or some porridge. This is the story of a 125-year-old golf course that holds the distinction of being one of the oldest and most influential private clubs in the state of Massachusetts. Located about 12 miles north of downtown Boston, which is right about here, Bear Hill was established in 1900 sitting on parcels of farmland owned by a Mr. Herbert Hopkins. Founding members tapped legendary golf architect Alex Finlay to design a challenging course that incorporated the natural features of the surrounding land. Additionally known for other great Massachusetts golf courses like Dedham Country and Polo, Myakamic Golf Club, and Vesper Country Club, Finlay not only had to design the course around a small creek that meandered its way through the land and stone walls built into the rolling hills, he also had to incorporate the cows that had free roam over the fairways. Over the next 2 decades, architect Wayne Stiles oversaw a significant expansion of the yardage with the purchase of 13 acres and other small parcels of land adjoining the club. To help maintain and adapt the course for today's golfer, Kevin Richardson, who is the director of grounds at Bear Hill, is tasked with getting this 125-year-old golf course acclimated to today's modern game.
My name is Kevin Richardson. I'm the director of grounds here at Bear Hill Golf Club. I've been doing this for 27 years now. It's the first job I ever had.
Okay.
So right out of high school, where I was on the golf team, it's pretty much where I got my first golf course job. I mowed greens, and coincidentally, it was my brother who's the director of grounds over at Essex County Club down the road. That's where he was working. You know, my grandfather was a firefighter and he was a golfer. And so, you know, obviously that was one of my biggest influences. He would take us golfing, and that's just kind of like where it happened.
I was speaking with somebody, the gentleman in Pro Shop, briefly, and he said that you are more of an architect than a superintendent.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's. I think I have a passion more in, about that part of the industry. When you build a bunker or a new tee complex, there's the reward on the other side of like that sense of accomplishment with that. The maintenance part doesn't. Maybe for some people, I'm sure it gives them that. For me, the maintenance part, I get to mid-August and I'm just burned out, and it's just I'm ready to move on to sit in an excavator and having. I find it fun.
Yeah.
I also love like these old New England golf courses and how you can, you try to dance a fine line between not manipulating too much. If you're trying to respect the property. It's been around for so long.
You want to keep a little bit of that.
You want to keep as much of that, right? You don't want to take that away, especially you got a place that's 125 years old, because what was done 125 years ago doesn't necessarily apply to today's golf, especially here.
Oh yeah, gotta have a little bit of passion for both. So, name of the course is Bear Hill.
Yep.
Stoneham, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Interesting name.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight as to how this became Bear Hill?
I honestly didn't have any insight because it's Bear Hill like the animal, and people had talked the whole bear story, and then when Mass Golf came out with their 125th, the write-up that they did, they had information that I didn't even know, and that it was Bear, B-A-R-E, like like blanket and open, which makes sense when I read that, because I have a lot of aerial footage or videos of the flyovers of the place from early 1900s all the way through, and it was open land. There weren't any trees. It was, so I'm assuming that's kind of how those two things connected. And then I think the club, essentially, from what I read, and again, that makes sense, is that they wanted, to kind of separate from that, where they kept the name, but changed the spelling so they can kind of create an identity and maybe have it as a bear as in the animal. And maybe it's more of a mythology than it is the actual truth.
So, since it's open, bear attacks has been at a minimum here. You can say.
What's that?
Bear attacks have been at a minimum here.
Yeah.
Oh, good. And so, you mentioned that the club opened up in 1900.
Right.
Original architect was Alex Finlay.
Right.
Well-renowned architect,
courses all over the world,
Right.
Coming over from Europe. Can you kind of talk about his original design, some of the stuff that you have been able to keep,
Right.
and some of the stuff that you're working to kind of change and update?
Right. So, like I had said, the land was fairly open. It actually was a cow farm. So they were playing golf with cows on the property, no joke, and that they would say for cow. Like there's some weird stories about golfers hitting golf balls at cows, obviously unintentionally. So we try to incorporate what the golf course had back then, and try to apply it to today's golf. I think a lot of what we're trying to do is from the bunkering, the greens complexes. That's kind of what we're trying to respect from Finley. What is known that Finley came in and designed, and you had Styles came in and made some subtle changes, and I'm based on the timeline, I'm guessing somewhere around there. That's maybe when 5 Green was expanded, and then we had Skip Wogan came in here and rebuilt, made the new hole on 2, brought in the driving range, which was the 6 fairway. Now it's a driving range, and turned that what was the 5th hole green into a practice green. So there's a lot of changes that were made, but it's been tinkered around so much. But the green sites, with the exception of the expansion on 5, they're pretty much, from what I understand, they've kind of been from the original. Yeah.
But it's very interesting that from the 1900s, it seems like of all the things to kind of stay true to form are the green complexes, because I feel like most modern day courses now, they've gone the opposite way. So now there's a renaissance to try and get back to those original greens, those original diagrams that these original architects had. But it seems like here, Bear Hill hasn't really changed. Like everything's pretty much been the same, with the exception of 5 Green, and that's really it.
Yeah, you can totally tell that, because when you play here, we're known for our greens, and they're firm, they're fast, but they are pitched, and so you fall into the call it push-up green, right? So they took the material and just pushed it out, and you see how they pushed it out, and it built it up. So from the back end is your high spot, and the front end is low.
Oh yeah. See, I look at all this and I'm like, this is all nice. Not where I want to be.
No, it's good. I mean, it's a good visual, and you look back, because we just rebuilt this one right here, because that used to be right here.
Okay.
So that gets us to the ladies, like to USGA standards for a par 5, but it also blends better in here than I cored this all down. So this actually used to be up to here. It was like a hump. I remember going back to the most unnatural places on a golf course, tee box, and now it just kind of blends right in. Put it in there and just carved out that little walking path right there. That rock was right in the. If I find these rocks, I just pull them out and throw them off into the tall rough. Well, you get into that rough I was talking about on the right side of 6. Yep, right where the bunker would be. Get down. Take a 4 on this hole any day of the week.
Everybody's hitting the bar further. Distance is everything. Distance is king.
Yep.
You need that green complex to be challenging to kind of offset everything.
Absolutely. You want to protect the golf course a little bit, and I think having some challenging green complexes on short par 4s is what we need. And I think if you took some of those greens and were trying to soften that slope, it would make it more. You would see better scores, but you would also make things easier. For a lot of those younger golfers that are coming through. So this should be about 150, maybe 148 if you're trying to get specific. Might play a little less than 150.
Okay. It looks like kind of what you were talking about, everything was pushed back
Yeah.
to the edge and then slopes towards us.
Yep. Now you can see like everything kind of looks, but this green is like one of those where it's got challenging parts. The front's got a good pitch to it, but there's kind of like a flat-ish area in the front, and you get over a little bit hump on the right, and it's kind of flat-ish again,
Okay.
but not, not flat. It's still pitch.
Sure.
Short, I caught it thin.
Oh, we're gonna see a lot of that today. You know, there was a period of time where my friends and I would go out to Patriot Place,
Yeah.
like go to a bar down there,
Yep.
and I would have people stop me
Yeah.
and be like, are you in Pat's? And if I feel like messing with people, I'd be like,
I would.
not anymore. Like I was on the practice squad, and they're like, oh my God.
That's how you met her, right?
The worst was, there was one year I was out for a walk somewhere. I think Caroline was with us or with me. Oh no, I'm sorry. This was back in college. So I wasn't even as big as I am now.
Yep.
But I was at a beach, and a dad and his kid came up to me. The kid had pen and paper in hand.
No way.
And he was like, are you Donovan McNabb? And I was like,
No.
sorry, kid.
I'm trying this. I'm not seeing it. It's funny you say that name because that's what I was comparing my son's kindergarten anxiety to.
Yeah.
Because he was known for, right? Puking before a game.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's my team. It's my quarterback.
There you go. Get down. All right. Green's a little slick. I don't know if it's gonna stay on there, but I think you might be putting. Afraid to hit it. I might be running for a bit.
Now that you're working with Mark Munjum, who is well known in the New England area, what sort of upcoming projects and improvements are you guys looking to do here?
Yep.
Which holes are you working on, and what's in the future?
We've put a lot of emphasis on it's more infrastructure. So we've been working on internal drainage on all of our greens, which is just basically a 2.5-inch pipe. They're spaced about 6 feet apart all the way across your green. So that way when it rains, you get a thunderstorm, that water's pulled down and those greens are ready for play. Yeah. So those are the things moving up this year. And I think moving forward, getting into like 2026, 2027 construction season, we're looking at renovating the entire second complex, the 12th complex, a big major cart path shift. The bigger stuff, from a long-term sustainability part, it's the drainage and the irrigation. That's in the next 5, 6, 7 years. We're hoping to get through all of that. And that would set this place up for, whatever the next 30 years, 40 years.
Okay. We talked about the 6th. We talked about the 15th. What other sort of unique design quirks or interesting features of this golf course would you like to point out?
I think the 8th green, when we play, we'll go over there and we'll probably show it off a little bit. I'd say we have 8.5 great golf holes here. And I say that because 8T is, that's a quirk in itself, and I think it's a terrible quirk. It's something that eventually is going to have to be remedied, but you have a tree right in front of the 8th tee box to the point where I think anybody who comes here, that's what they remember.
Yep.
That aside, when you get up to 8 green, over the last few years, we've kind of restored the whole area. We redone all the bunkers. There's a cool knob that's on the back right of the green that used to be like just mostly collar and then rough on the backside, where we've pushed the green out. So the hump is 60% green, and then the color rolls off on the backside, which really makes for some challenging putts and chips, particularly if you have a back pin. It's like Mark calls it, like that quirky New England golf. You see it like at Cape Arundel, these crazy movements around the greens. It's kind of like that, but it's just a singular hump, or it's kind of like the opposite of the bathtub at Essex.
Okay.
I think it's probably our best work we've done on the golf course is that 8th green renovation and the 9th tee renovation we did a couple years ago. It just kind of cleaned up that whole area, but you just had better visuals, and it's impacted play, and your sight lines on 9 tee. They're just fantastic because you kind of see all of it from up there.
All right.
That might be stay
I think
short.
we got the cut.
All right. That's the smart play.
Smarter golf.
Probably the only play.
Nice shot.
There it is. Go. Works.
I'll take it.
Went straight. Serious, but also I'm also not trying to get better. You gotta hit it harder than that.
Get there.
It's a lot of uphill. There you go. Same problem. You're so used to the speed. Make things challenging for people. Get in there. Come on. Nice 3-putt.
All right.
What's up with this guy?
What's that?
You.
And then there's one more that you didn't mention.
What's that one?
There's a bunch of cars going right here.
Oh, that thing. That cork. Yeah. So on the 4th tee box, you hit over the street, and like there's other courses where you do hit over the street. I think at Meadowbrook you hit that's up in Reading. You hit over street, but it's like a little side street. This is North Street, which is basically a cut through for anyone that's in a log jam on 128.
Yep.
So they all drive here on North Street. If you're in Ipswich, it's Prospect Street, and it intersects with 28, which is like right down the street. And you hit, there's a fence there. You hit over the fence, and then if you're right up on the Mass Golf, there's telephone cables and all that stuff right in front of you, and it's just part of what it is.
Golf wasn't hard enough.
Well, right. If it wasn't hard enough, and going back to a further previous conversation about like architectural, like what they did here and the changes, that tee box actually used to be just across the street. That was never there. That was just woods. And when they were building the highways, during in the 50s, the golf course was further back, almost into the highway. So they took, I believe 4 Green is in its same location, but that was a short 4. And that's what impacted a lot of the other property. And so 5 tees be further back. And they brought it forward, and that's part of the reason they're trying to create more distance, I think.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what other than maybe making a driving range, why they did it, but that's why that was there, because they wanted to lengthen 4, because they lost space that way. And so they put that fence there to obviously block balls, and it works. I can say that it doesn't always work. It's not perfect.
No, it does happen.
Yeah,
And I can attest, when I played here the first time, it is a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Trying to get over the street and the fence, but for me, I feel like that's one of the more memorable holes that I remember.
Yeah.
Is just trying to get over all of these cars that are coming by.
Yeah.
You don't want to hit anybody.
No, you
don't
don't
want to hit anything, and so
No.
stuff like that. I tend to hit a lot of errant shots all over the place.
Yep.
And so I have it in my mind, like, don't don't top the ball, don't pop it up, just get it down there, and then wherever it lands is wherever it lands.
I think for a lot of us that have played here enough, like that doesn't creep in my mind anymore. And, you know, you play your own golf course enough, and you don't stress about that as much once you hit up there enough and you realize, you know, that it's not as intimidating as you think it is. I think it's just like one of those things that gets in your head when you first come, and you're right, you know, like you don't want to be the person that hits the car. I think that's, you know, that's a reasonable expectation.
Goodness gracious.
I usually don't swing this good.
Yeah, right. Like I said, get this guy in front of the camera. Yeah.
I like to think I'm a smart person. I'm not, but I get all that stuff.
You know, smart or not, you've been hitting some pretty good golf balls.
Yeah, well. Sit down, sit down. All right, not bad. Not bad.
Not bad, we're out.
Well,
Nice.
if you just get it on the green's next shot, you'll get par, because you know you're gonna make the putt.
Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure.
A little bit more.
Get up.
Ooh. So close from being perfect. Also really close from being awful.
Nice putt.
Push that one a little bit, huh? You getting used to that putter?
Yeah, this is awesome. I love this putter. There you go, sir.
Thank you.
Stuff.
Is that enough golf?
In your opinion, you know, working here, talking with the members and guests, what is it that you feel like makes this course special and stand out from some of the others in the area?
I think our members are great. It's a great group of people. They're very supportive. They like that we're moving forward. They love how we're doing things on the golf course. I think that, you know, I think most memberships are proud of their own property, but they're very supportive in our push to be great for people that, you know, support you.
Yep.
And, you know, obviously there's the usual, you know, not the naysayers, but, you know, the grumpy bunch. But those people are going to be grumpy no matter what, and they're usually pretty easy to deal with. But that's what makes us, you know, one of the things that makes us unique. I think our approach is indicative of the membership. You know, we're Stoneham, we're, you know, what you would consider a, you know, blue collar private club, and how we do things in house, and the people that have been on board kind of fall under that umbrella. And I think that's part of the reason why we're able to do what we do. And yeah, I think that's what's made us who we are, is they're a blue collar club, and they appreciate people that come in here and want to work. If I came in here wearing, you know, dress shoes and just drove around, I don't think that would be the right fit. And us pushing to do work and wanting to work is what has allowed us to make, because they see that we want to work, and so they're trying to give us work.
Okay.
That's kind of like it all works here, because they have that same mindset, and it works. It's pretty cohesive.